Hi, today on Ask the Trainer, I got a question from Paul in Minneapolis. Actually, more of an issue that he ran into. So he has some slow closing valves, and I don't know if they're just by the design or by the age of them. But what was happening on this project is you would have a zone 27 would open, it would run through its cycle, and then it would electrically close. So the solenoid closes, but then hydraulically it takes some time to close. So it might go on for a minute or so. And then zone 28 would turn on. 27 hasn't closed. 28 runs. Now the pressure is lower. 27 is going to hang up. 28 does the exact same thing. 28 electrically closes, hydraulically hangs up. Now he's got 27 and 28 and 29 open, right? You can see where the cycle goes. He's got a problem with slow closing valves and he wants to address it. I have just the solution to take care of it. Let's jump in and take a look at it. For this, we're going to go to Base Manager. So in Base Manager, it's not on Quick View or Schedules. It's all on the Flow Setup tab. And specifically, this is a mainline setting. So let's open up mainlines. So let's open mainline 1 and make sure we're in edit mode. Now, what we're going to do is come down to mainline and zone delays right here. Open that up. And we've got a couple of different things that we can do here. So let's look at this first one is delay before first zone. So delay before first zone, I'm going to set that to 2 minutes. What I just did is I gave another 2 minutes before the first zone opens up. So a program starts, the master valve opens, or the pump starts up, and traditionally that first zone would just fire up immediately at the same time concurrently with that master valve. Not here. We've got to bid another 2 minutes. What's the benefit? And does it solve Paul's problem? No, this isn't for Paul, but this is good for you. What happens is the main line will pressurize for a full 2 minutes before it opens the zone valve. Right? So master valve or pump fires up, and then 2 minutes later, the individual zone opens. Who does that benefit? Well, you got a main line that drains out or a pump that needs to pressurize up. This is perfect for you. This isn't what Paul needs, though, so let's move to the next one. So this next one is delay before next turn on. So I'm going to set delay before next turn on to just 1 minute. What this does is zone 27 is running. It electrically closes. And then we've just built in a 1 minute pause in between 27 and 28. So a minute later, 28 will open. Even though the master valve's open and even though it's continuing through its cycle, there's a 1 minute pause, if you will, in between each and every zone. This will solve Paul's issue, right? It gives him a minute for the valves to close and then before moving on to the next, so his pressure doesn't drop and he doesn't have a whole bunch of valves hung open out there. What else could we do? We could also do this delay after last zone. Well, let's see what that looks like. So I'm going to turn this back to 0 and I'll go to a delay after the last zone. Where delay after last zone is going to be beneficial is we can allow the main line to bleed the pressure off. So in this case, I give it another 2 minutes to bleed the pressure off the main line if that's something you need to do. But this is all based off of time. Let's look at another option, and I think this one's even more exciting. Let's switch over to pressure. So let's do a delay type of pressure, not time, and let's do a delay before the first zone. So what I'm going to do is change my delay before first zone to 90 psi. What this means is the main line will pressurize up to 90 psi, so the pump has time to ramp up or the main line has time to charge, all the way up to 90 psi before my first zone starts. And once that happens, then it starts a sequence. So fantastic for a line that drains out or a pump that needs to charge. Very good. Now, what if it takes a minute or what if it takes 5 minutes? Doesn't really matter. When it reaches the pressure I decided, which was 90 psi. As soon as it reaches that 90, it starts. Okay, I like that one. How about this other one? Let's set a delay before next turn on, and this time I'm going to set it to 50 psi. What I've just told the controller is in between each zone, don't move on to zone 28 until that mainline pressure has come back up to 50 psi. If it's below 50 psi, it's just going to pause until that pressure comes back up. So what's kind of nice about this, especially if Paul is going to be using this, is as soon as he has 50 psi, it will move on to the next zone. What if it's a minute? Okay, then it turns on. What if it's 6 minutes? It will still wait until the pressure comes up to 50 psi. So there may be some zones where he has slow closing and then others where he has fast closing. It will accommodate this with pressure. To make this work, he will need a baseline BL5406 pressure decoder and a pressure bicoder, right? So this would connect into the mainline, and then he can measure his mainline pressure, triggering the setting. So it's kind of nice to have the option on running on time or off of pressure. Honestly, I think pressure is probably going to get you tighter to what you want.
Have a question for me? Click the link in the description and go to hydropoint.com/askthetrainer to submit your question.